Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Alice. She was sitting beside a river with her sister. The day was hot, and she felt very bored. Her sister was reading a book, but it had no pictures and no conversations. Alice thought, "What is the use of a book without pictures or talking?" As she was thinking this, suddenly a white rabbit ran past her. It was wearing clothes and holding a watch in its paw. The rabbit looked at the watch and said, "Oh dear! I'm late." Alice was very surprised. A rabbit that talks and carries a watch? That was strange. She jumped up and ran after it. The rabbit went down a deep hole under a tree, and Alice followed it without thinking. She fell down, 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 for a long time, like falling through the air. She saw cupboards, shelves, maps, and jars around her while she was falling. Finally, she landed safely at the bottom. Alice found herself in a long hallway full of doors. All the doors were locked. Then she saw a small glass table with a golden key on it. She tried the key on every door, but none of them opened. At last, she found a very small door behind a curtain. The golden key fit perfectly, and behind the door she saw the most beautiful garden. But the door was too small for her to enter. She wished she could make herself smaller. Then she saw a bottle on the table with a label that said, "Drink me." Alice carefully checked if it was poison. It wasn't, so she drank it. The taste was sweet and mixed with many flavors. Suddenly she began to shrink until she was only 10 inches tall. She laughed happily, thinking she could now enter the garden. But oh no, she had forgotten the key on the table, and now she was too short to reach it. She felt sad and began to cry, and her tears made a pool of water around her. Then she saw a small cake that said, "Eat me." She ate it, hoping it might help. The next moment, she started growing taller and taller until her head hit the ceiling. Now she was too big. She cried again, and her tears became an ocean. When she shrank back to normal size, she fell into the pool of tears. There she met a mouse and many other talking animals who had also fallen in. They all swam together and talked like people. Alice felt like she was in a dream. Later, she met some very strange people having a mad tea party. The Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and a sleepy little mouse. They talked nonsense and asked riddles that made no sense. Alice tried to be polite, but they were too crazy, so she left the table, shaking her head. Then she came to a beautiful garden where the Queen of Hearts lived. The queen was always angry and shouting, "Off with their heads!" The playing card soldiers were painting white roses red because the queen hated white roses. Alice watched in surprise. The queen invited Alice to play croquet, but instead of balls and sticks, they used hedgehogs and flamingos. It was a very silly game. Suddenly, the queen accused someone of stealing her tarts and shouted, "Call the court!" "We must have a trial." In the courtroom, everyone was talking at the same time. The judge was the King of Hearts. The white rabbit was reading papers. The queen pointed at Alice and said, "She is the thief. Cut off her head." Alice was not afraid anymore. She had suddenly grown big again. She looked at the queen and laughed. "You are nothing but a pack of cards," she shouted. At that moment, all the cards flew into the air and started swirling around her. Alice tried to brush them away, and suddenly she woke up. She was back beside the river, resting on her sister's lap. It had all been a dream, a strange, funny, wonderful dream. She told her sister everything, and her sister smiled, imagining the magical world Alice had seen. Alice looked at the sky and thought to herself, "What a curious dream it was. I wish I could visit Wonderland again." Alice's story teaches us that imagination has no limits. Sometimes life feels strange, but when we stay curious and brave, like Alice, every adventure becomes a wonderland.